America, we've got a story that perfectly captures everything wrong with liberal governance in one spectacular display of delusion. Portland, Oregon, the same city that has been a war zone for years, is now suing President Trump to stop him from sending National Guard troops to protect federal facilities. But here's the kicker. They're doing this while facing a $93 million budget deficit that's forcing them to close community centers and basic services.
And first, our big story this morning takes us to Oregon, where the state and city of Portland are now suing the Trump administration to try to block the National Guard from deploying to Portland.
Let me get this straight. Portland can't afford to keep their parks open, but they've got money to hire lawyers to fight federal troops who are trying to protect ICE agents from domestic terrorists. This is liberal priorities in a nutshell.
The city of Portland has 2 months left to figure out how it will close a massive $93 million budget deficit.
What is up, guys? Tyson De La Cruz here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. This story is going to make your head spin because it shows you exactly what happens when you let progressive ideologies run a city into the ground while pretending everything is fine. Let me break down what's actually happening in Portland that has Trump sending in the National Guard, because the mainstream media is calling this peaceful protests, but it's anything but that.
This is the ICE facility in Portland, Oregon. This has become the epicenter of ICE protests nationwide. They have now spread to other ICE facilities, including Chicago, where our correspondent Mills Hayes is reporting from.
The ICE facility in Portland has been under siege for months. We're not talking about people holding signs and chanting. We're talking about Antifa terrorists in black-bloc gear attacking federal agents, docking ICE officers by publishing their home addresses, and sending death threats to the Department of Homeland Security personnel.
Rose City Antifa, a recently designated domestic terrorist organization, illegally docks ICE officers. They publish their home address online, and on public flyers, individuals associated with Antifa also sent death threats to DHS personnel. And
think about that for a second. These aren't protesters. They're domestic terrorists who are literally hunting federal agents at their home. They're putting ICE officers' families in danger because these agents are just doing their job, deporting people that shouldn't even be here in the first place.
And Kelly, we were here last night, and around 25 to 30 protesters gathered here wearing that black-bloc attire, covering their faces. It was a much smaller turnout compared to some of the other nights. We were expecting a much larger turnout later today.
Black-bloc attire, face coverings. This is the uniform of domestic terrorism. These aren't concerned citizens exercising their First Amendment rights. These are organized criminals conducting coordinated attacks on federal facilities and federal employees. And here's what really gets me. Portland's leadership has been enabling this for years. They've created a sanctuary environment where Antifa can operate with impunity while law-abiding citizens and federal agents live in fear. Now let's talk about Oregon's Governor Tina Kotek's absolute delusional response to Trump's deployment. And can we address the elephant in the room here? Tina? What kind of serious leader goes by Tina when dealing with federal law enforcement and national security issues?
We are in the central city of Portland, Oregon, and it is a beautiful day. And we are very happy to be here speaking with you today.
Listen to this opening. It's a beautiful day and we're happy to be here. This sounds like she's hosting a garden party, not addressing domestic terrorism and federal intervention. This is the level of seriousness we're dealing with from Portland's leadership.
There is no insurrection. There is no threat to national security. And there is no need for military troops in our major city.
No insurrection, no threat to national security. Meanwhile, federal agents are being doxxed, threatened, and attacked by domestic terrorists. ICE facilities are under siege, but according to Tina, everything is peachy.
And you can tell because you're here with me in Portland. You can see that this city is safe and calm, and it is a beautiful day to be here.
This is the most tone-deaf response I've ever heard from a government official. You can see the city is safe and calm. Yeah, because you're standing in a carefully selected location with security, not at an ICE facility where federal agents are under attack.
For those of you who are here downtown or watching at home, you know that our city is not the place that people think it is from years ago. There's business thriving. People are coming downtown.
Businesses are thriving, she says. Lady, your city is facing a $93 million budget deficit. Businesses have been fleeing Portland for years because of crime, homelessness, and Antifa violence. What planet is Tina living on? This is exactly what I mean when I say Portland's leadership is completely detached from reality. They're more concerned about their image than protecting federal agents and law-abiding citizens. Now let's talk about the real state of Portland, because while Tina is out here talking about thriving businesses, the city is literally broke and cutting essential services.
The city of Portland working to close a $93 million budget gap. On Wednesday, the council held its first work session to discuss potential cuts.
$93 million. That's not a rounding error. That's a massive financial crisis that shows years of mismanagement and failed progressive policies. And what are they cutting? Parks, recreation, transportation, and potentially public safety programs.
Some of the options include $23 million in cuts to Parks and Rec and $22 million to transportation. Some public safety programs could also face reductions.
So they're cutting $23 million from parks and recreations. That means closing community centers where kids go after school and stay out of trouble. They're cutting $22 million from transportation. That means worse roads and less public transit. And they might cut public safety programs while Antifa is literally attacking federal facilities. This is the progressive governance model in action. Spend money on everything except for what actually matters. Then act surprised when you're broke and your city is falling apart.
Everything we should be doing is trying to build a city that stops the bleeding.
Stop the bleeding. Finally, somebody in Portland government acknowledges the city is hemorrhaging money in residents. But they still don't understand that their progressive policies are what caused the bleeding in the first place. Here's what really gets me. Portland has been spending millions on homeless services, drug programs, and social justice initiatives, while their basic infrastructure crumbles in front of them. They prioritize virtue signaling over actual governance, and now they're shocked that they're broke. So let me get this straight. Portland is broke, cutting community centers and public safety programs, but somehow they found money to hire lawyers to sue the federal government for trying to protect federal agents. Let that sink in.
In response, the state and city of Portland sued the Trump administration, in it saying the deployment is not based on any legitimate threat, but is instead political.
Not based on any legitimate threat. Meanwhile, ICE agents are being doxxed and threatened by domestic terrorists. Federal facilities are under siege, according to Portland's lawyers. There's no legitimate threat. This lawsuit is going to cost taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars in legal fees. Money that could have gone to keeping community centers open or fixing roads. But Portland's priorities are clear. Protect Antifa terrorists, not American citizens.
Oregon's governor said she spoke to President Trump and told him Portland is doing just fine.
Portland is doing just fine with a $93 million budget deficit, Antifa attacking federal agents, and basic services being cut. This is what fine looks like to progressive leaders. The federal government has a constitutional duty to protect federal facilities and federal employees. When local government fails to do that, which Portland clearly has, federal intervention is not just justified, it's necessary. Portland is following the exact same playbook that we've seen in San Francisco, Seattle, Los Angeles, and other progressive-run cities. First, they prioritize ideology over results. Then they enable criminals while punishing law-abiding citizens. Finally, they blame everyone else when their policies inevitably fail.
Attorney General Dan Rayfield filing that complaint in federal court requesting a preliminary injunction. He's arguing that the president lacks the authority under Title 10.
They're arguing that Trump doesn't have the authority to protect federal facilities from domestic terrorists. Think about how insane that is. The federal government can't protect its own buildings and employees because it might hurt the feelings of Antifa terrorists. This is what happens when you elect leaders who care more about progressive credentials than protecting their constituents. They create chaos, then complain when somebody tries to restore order.
I think, quite honestly, this is straight out of the authoritarian playbook. So we did see it coming. I think it's un-American.
Authoritarian playbook. Protecting federal agents from domestic terrorists is authoritarian, but allowing Antifa to attack federal facilities with impunity is somehow democratic. These people live in an alternate reality. America, Portland is a perfect example of what happens when you let progressive ideology run a city. You get domestic terrorists attacking federal agents while the city government sues to stop federal protection. You get a $93 million budget deficit while spending money on lawyers leaders to defend criminals. This isn't just about Portland. This is about the future of America. Every city that follows Portland model ends up the same way: broke, dangerous, and dysfunctional.
We do not need or want federal troops in Oregon stoking fear, creating conflict, and frankly escalating a situation that is under control.
Under control with a $93 million budget deficit, Antifa attacking federal agents, and basic services being cut. If this is quote unquote under control, I'd like to see what chaos looks like to these people. The Trump administration is doing exactly what it should, protecting federal assets and federal employees from domestic terrorists. If Portland leadership won't maintain law and order, then federal authorities need to step in and do that for them. They want change? Here's the change Portland needs. Stop enabling domestic terrorists, stop wasting money on progressive pet projects, and start prioritizing public safety and basic services. But that would require admitting their entire ideology is a failure. The people of Portland deserve better than leaders who call themselves Tina, which we know what that is, and pretend that everything is fine when their city burns and goes broke. They deserve leaders who put American citizens first, not Antifa terrorists. This is what happens when you vote for progressives. Your city becomes a war zone that requires federal military intervention while going bankrupt at the same time. The coffee might be good, but everything else about Portland needs to be completely reset. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.